Welcome to Scalable and Saleable, where we find out what great entrepreneurs have done to scale their businesses to millions. Stay right here for the next few minutes to leverage validated methodologies for growth and create a way more scalable and a more sellable business for yourself. Let's dive in. Would you mind just telling the viewers really quickly who you are and a little about your business?
Absolutely. Thanks for having me, Jeff. Very much appreciate it and love working with entrepreneurs all over the world. But my name is Ron Frechette. I'm the founder and CEO, and in our world, that's Chief Evangelist Officer of Goldsky Cybersecurity. Really what we do is focus on helping small and mid-sized businesses to get them educated, and then we transform the way they're doing business from the brick and mortar age way to the digital age way. And then we help protect them by helping them build robust security controls around their digital infrastructures.
Right. And thank you for that. And you mentioned, you work with companies all over the world. What do you attribute your growth to?
Well, it's a huge demand, right? We are smack dab in the middle of a digital industrial revolution. And so the whole world has been transforming their business practice into the digital age way. When I started my journey in the cybersecurity world, it was with a company by the name of Coalfire Systems. This was about 15 years ago. And we were focused back then on helping the large enterprise companies start to get their arms around security, privacy, and compliance. And what we began to see over the years is that as the larger companies were securing their digital footprints, the cyber criminals started working their way down the supply chain and picking on the little guys, right? And so we saw that as a huge, this has been more of a crusade to us, Jeff, than it has been building a business, I got to tell you. And, the sad reality is 60% of small, mid-sized businesses that get hit with ransomware or any type of data exfiltration incident in this day and age, they're filing bankruptcy within 6 to 12 months.
Wow.
And so we've got a lot of passion. We feel we got a lot of ex-military people here at Goldsky. I'm an ex-Coast Guard guy. We've got intel officers from the Navy, Army. And we feel like we're fighting a war. It's like we're back in the military, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Well, there are so many comparisons to that. And I think about, like, for example, we have these CEO roundtable groups, right? And I feel like when we're talking to certain entrepreneurs about coming to a meeting and having all these other smart, successful entrepreneurs weigh in on suggestions, and solutions to the challenges they're trying to get to. And some of them like, oh, I'm too busy, and I in my mind, I imagine here's a soldier on the battlefield who's wounded and saying, just leave me here. And I say, no, we're going to pick you up. We're going to put you over a shoulder. We're going to put you onto the chopper, and we're going to get you back to safety. That's the way I see it. So when you
leave no one behind, right? We leave no one behind.
Yeah, it resonates. And the crazy thing is the majority of business owners are just fine, just leave me here, out on the battlefield when it doesn't have to be as much of a struggle, and you, like someone like you, could do all the different things that they probably aren't even aware of, the different things that could make things easier for them. I'm sure you've learned a lot along the way based off all your past experiences. If you were coming into a brand new, totally different business, knowing what what would be some of the first things that you think you'd look into to start growing it?
Well, it's funny you say that, because when we first started Goldsky, and we're about 6.5 years now into the journey, the first thing we realized is that no cybersecurity company has ever gone into the area of trying to help small and mid-sized businesses. So we were like, where do we even start, right? So the first thing we did was we actually invested in a company by the name of GrowthInc out of New York to do some market analytics for us, right? Because we're like, all right, we're going to go save the SMB world from the cyber criminals. And then we're like, well, that's 90% of the businesses in this country. Where do we start? So it's kind of like trying to boil the ocean, right? So after doing some research, and it was very valuable to us, it gave us a starting point and a compass to focus on as we started growing the business. So I would
Mm.
say it's very important to not just jump in and say, all right, we got a great idea, let's go do it. Do your research and make
Wow.
sure that you're starting in a place where your service or product is going to have the biggest need.
That's such good advice because so many entrepreneurs do try to boil the ocean, and you're talking about a much more thought out approach. That's great. People should go check out that resource that you mentioned in New York. You've had a unique perspective of working with so many other businesses and observing them and kind of hearing the way different business leaders talk, good and bad. What do you feel most small business owners do wrong?
Oh man, I could. I think in many cases it's hard to kind of hand the reins off as you're starting to scale and grow the business. I know I had a hard time with that. And it's having trust in the people that you're bringing into the organization to know, number one, make sure you do a good job of interviewing and qualifying backgrounds and knowing what the needs are within your organization. Once you understand what that job description needs to be, it's about making sure that you have the right person in that seat. And then, and then being able to hand the reins off at a point where you feel, that they're ready to take the ball and run with it.
Got it.
But sooner than later.
Right.
You
Yeah, like
qualify them
yesterday's.
up front first. That handoff will usually be sooner, and it'll happen with a lot less friction, if you will.
Yeah. Are there any influential books that you've read or listened to that have have been helpful?
I'll tell you, one that has really stood out to us and we have embraced is a book called Traction. I don't know if you're familiar with Traction by Dino
Yeah.
Wickman.
Hmm.
But I'll tell you, when we were trying to figure out how are we going to run the business, right? Because you have to work in the business, but you also have to work on the business. And so this traction model, the EOS, Entrepreneurial Operating System, has given us a foundation to build the organization from. And I can tell you, the last 3 years, we've grown by 200%. Year
Wow.
over year, and we attribute a lot of that to having a sound operating system in place to build and grow the business.
Yeah, no, I will second that. I know a lot of the entrepreneurs and CEOs in our community, 12 Mavens, are running on EOS and even
We love it.
have implementers and the whole, the whole thing, and have said great things. So if you could go back in time to when you first started out and say one thing to younger you, what would you say?
Patience is a virtue. It'll
Mhm.
happen, right? It's not going to happen overnight. You think, 3 to 5 years, you're going to be where you're, what you're focused on. And you just need to make sure that, you're setting smart goals, right? And we all
Yeah.
know what smart goals are.
Yep.
Patient.
And you're, yeah. But I was going to try to do it all about specific, measurable, time bound, all that stuff. Because somebody watching this, go Google that and look at what the SMART stands for and post it in here.
It's
Um,
specific, measurable, action-oriented, realistic, and time-bound.
there you go. All right, bonus points right there, man. Nice. Um, what question should I be asking you that I haven't?
Um, I guess, in our journey right now, Jeff, honestly, we are in a very green field, right? So we're actually having to build the plane as we fly it. So it's a very challenging journey because again, no other cybersecurity is so new to the small and mid-sized business where a lot of these businesses never had to do security risk assessments. They never had to get SOC compliant and all these things that the digital age is bringing. So just having to plow those roads, those green fields, while you're building a company, can be somewhat of a challenge. And this is why I say you got to have patience, especially in a greenfield opportunity. But it's really paid off for us. We've been very blessed to have a great leadership team. We've got a great visionary. We've got a great integrator, right? Speaking EOS language.
Yeah.
So it's been a great ride. And, you know, the next 3 to 5 years are going to be just, we believe, extremely successful. And we're having a blast doing it.
I don't know if you can see it under the camera. I'm knocking on wood over here for you. Yeah, keep crushing it, man. Any parting words of wisdom, advice for entrepreneurs in the trenches?
You know, I would just say minds are like parachutes. They only function when they're open, right? So stay focused, but, you know, just be open-minded to, you know, don't think that you have all the right ideas. You've got to make sure that you open up your mind to these other people that are coming into your leadership team that can help you take a quantum leap in the growth of your organization. And I know that it's happened for us, and I'm truly thankful for, you know, the team that we have in place.